All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna call meeting to order. We'll start the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
All right, we have a quorum, barely, with two of us, so, consent agenda's up first. Any questions or deletions or anything you want to move to consent agenda?
The only question that I had on the August 4th meeting, the joint work station, did we also talk about, in addition to 5 and 10 year, were we even talking about a 15-year study?
Yeah.
And so that might need to be added to that, but yeah, I think we were also looking at 15 years.
Yeah, certainly long term.
Yeah, definitely long term.
Okay.
So, other than that, I have nothing else to add.
Just need a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll be your second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is that how we do that? Push roll.
I guess.
Okay. Since we're two. All right, we will also open up any public comment. Okay. We'll start off with the liaison reports, town liaison.
Okay, there. July 14th meeting, I believe was, after our last meeting. They looked at various introductions of new developments. One was a high-end studio off of 100 South, all 4-story buildings and proposed PUD and all that kind of thing. That was it for that meeting. The meeting that they had scheduled for the 28th was canceled because they didn't have a quorum. And then the meeting on the 11th, they had a public hearing and then had a resolution about the reorganization of local government with Washington Township. So I think that's probably the most important things that came out of town council meeting.
Okay. All right, I know Don's going to touch on the reorganization piece. I don't know if Amanda has anything from the school standpoint. I think from the library standpoint either. So we'll move on to department reports, township assistance.
Yeah, and I'll take care of that. But I'd like to, for the agenda, which could under new business, I'd like to move the discussion on potential grant for special transportation needs to the first part of new business.
Yep.
We have representative from Henry County Senior Services, I think it's somebody from them, and then that's what I wanted to do next.
Yep.
Under township assistance, so we granted $4,324 total. Broke out $2,286 of rent, $188 a year of utilities, $500 in burial, and then $1,350 which was school clothes.
Okay. All right, human resources, you did that too. Oh, sorry, I didn't see it.
That's all right, that's
I
fine.
apologize.
I can back. So this month we had 5 new hires, all out of Murphy, between lifeguards and admission staff, and 3 terminations, 1 parks, and 2 fire department, or terminations or resignations. That's basically the changing of the staff.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Community engagement.
Well, community engagement, we had our employee appreciation week in July. So I just want to give one more sponsor shout out to Conkle Funeral Home who helped us with that, and X Golf in Plainfield that opened up their whole space for some of our employees to come and play on them. And we had a community connection with the Mary Lee Mayer Food Pantry, and been working with the Harvest Moon Festival group, and then working with Laura at the park on quite a bit of the marketing for the fall and winter programs. We're already thinking about Penguin Park in summer. So we've just been kind of updating the Facebook pages and the websites to kind of keep the momentum of the parks going into the next few seasons.
Good.
Nope. Okay. Parks and Rec.
As you can see from my report, we had another successful summer with our summer camp program, with our camps being in 3 different locations, 4 different camps total. And then I mentioned in there that Eli Lilly reached out to us to have us run their summer camp as well on their park property, which is about 20 minutes from here. And so we met with them this week, and we're in discussions to give them a proposal to run their camp as well. And as I mentioned in here, with that will come an addition of a part-time person for our camp. And then, just like Karen mentioned, I'm already on Christmas mode, talking about Penguin Park, how we're going to transition everything, coming up with some more crazy ideas of things that we can do out there. And so we're excited about that. It's scary for a little bit, but we're excited about seeing an increase in our ice rink revenue as well. And then we officially hit our goal for the entire year the second week in July.
Good. Which is it on the Lilly downtown campus or the south?
It's on that park that Lilly owns. And so I think it's like Raymond Road.
Oh, okay.
So it's not very far from here. It's about 20 minutes. We went and toured it. But that would be us doing the whole thing. So the only thing that they're involved in is, security, safety. They check in on us, that type of thing. It would be our camp.
Okay.
And then we would have access to their database to be able to promote our programs as well to their staff.
Good.
Any other questions about revenue or park report?
One thing is, since we're kind of leaving our properties in your study of whether that works or not, make sure you check with the insurance carrier that we don't have an issue there.
Okay.
Just doing something off
I'll
of our properties.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, fire.
First off, I'll apologize. Your report is a little bit short this month, but if you have any questions about what I did present, I know Shane, you had asked Don a couple of questions. One about the overlay, and Jason's got that when it comes up in the agenda. We'll go over that. The second question you had was about the fees that we charge for claims review. Levi's at an arson conference this week in Danville, so he'll be back in the office the end of the week.
Yeah, it was a late question, so I didn't.
He'll do some investigation of that, and just, he had planned to look at that to see how we kind of fall. There aren't a lot of departments that do claim review. Some pay outside firms to do it for them and charge a fee for that, but he's going to try to get some comparative figures to let you know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I understand the property one, because I know, I think Don reported gave or the resolution gave GPS.
Mhm.
So how that overlays with,
He kind of had a chart of it when we brought it a month or two ago.
Okay.
He brought that back, so when we get to that
Okay.
discussion, he'll kind of show you kind of where we're looking at and how those overlays work out. A couple of updates I'll give you on Station 144. I know it's not in the paperwork anymore, but last week they did install our flooring in our workout room that we've been waiting for. They're kind of delay on that. We got that finished. We still got the generator that we're waiting for delivery of that, but other than that, I think about everything before it's done. Training ground, we did get the container work done for Levi's as far as cutting them and doing that kind of work. And I believe, did I hear you say later this week you were going to be working on it?
We'll be working on some more stuff in that this week as well, but hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have a lot of the construction projects in that buttoned up.
I think, Levi was planning on using something near this October, or October, so our plan was to make sure we got all that worked in there by then.
Good.
Fence hasn't started yet, it's supposed to be installed. For the neighbor to the south, Juan's called because they're putting a new fence there and doing one at the turning ground. I asked Chris for an update today, and he said we were slated for the last week of this month, the first week of next month to do both those projects and get that done.
So there's a ribbon cutting and open hospital.
I think we're probably looking at doing that in October during Fire Prevention Week. We just thought that was kind of a good time that we could do that, and we like to do them both at the same time, and maybe have some demonstrations at the training ground and be able to show it off at the same time that we're doing the station. So we'll bring more information on, and that's the first week in October. So we'll bring some more information back to you about that.
Okay.
In coming meetings.
Awesome.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee report.
So besides about the meeting itself, included on my report was that the updated financials for Station 144 and Murphy Park projects have been included in your packet. We're still going to put our budgets there and we'll end the whole project on the budget. That's all one step. Want to remind you that the budget workshop for 2023 will be on September the 8th at 3 p.m. here to this location. The department heads and myself will be presenting the budget to you. And if we need to have another session, we'll have one with that, so you can look at that. And we'll get the information out to you in plenty of time so you have it to review for that meeting. Also, September 20th board meeting will have quite a few things on the agenda, one of which will be the defeasance of these two bonds. So bond council will be here to present that to you, and there'll be some other public hearings and stuff too. So we're pretty busy meeting, so plan accordingly on your schedule. Last thing was, last Friday I received from the town manager the resolution that the town council passed on August the 11th. And their resolution is basically after they went through the history of everything, it resolved that conducting a public hearing, considering all public comments and other considerations, the Avon Town Council now finds the best interest of the town and its citizens to propose a reorganization with Washington Township and Henry County. So with that, legal counsel will tell you that we'll have to take some action and stuff, and pretty much you have to cover that. I know you're not going to be discussing it, so what's on the agenda, but if you want the information, then you can provide that right now, or you can do it later on in another meeting or whatever.
And I don't know, Jeff, you get any different than previously discussed the last meeting, or?
Nothing that I want to go on a deep dive in,
Right.
since we're not, got it as a presentation item or voting item.
Yep.
You've got the items back from the town, so you can consider that a trigger that we can talk offline and figure out what the next appropriate step is. But the statute requires notice. You're going to have a public hearing on it to take the next step, so it's more than just doing it post notice. We'll have to talk about logistics on that.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, and at this point, without the third board member here too, I think it would be to A, discuss it and put on the agenda, B, we need to understand all the legal aspects of that, and C, we understand, as Steve alluded to, in the collaboration, the financial impact of not just tomorrow, today, but 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I think down the road, to be smart about this and the impact to not just the school and the library and taxpayers, but what does it mean to public service, public safety? What does it mean to every aspect of what we do? So this isn't something we as a township are trying to rush towards. We want to be prudent and smart about this. And that's all we do. So, you want anything? Okay, anything else, Don? Sorry. Okay. Old business, the 2023 pay comparisons.
So in your packets, I went back and reworked some of the fire numbers. If you look at the second page of that, is actually run loads for 2021. And as you can see, that Wayne was way out of whack than the rest of them. So I took Wayne Township out of the mix. I did leave Carmel in the mix because they're only about, on average, three more runs a day. So if we just did 3 more runs a day, we would get their numbers. So you can kind of see that in the packet. I won't go through them one by one, since we did that last time with this thing in particular. You want me to look at, I did send out the numbers that you asked for to be reworked as well. Any questions?
So she answered it.
I'm still comfortable with my salary bump suggestions that were sent out. Shane's suggestions were just perfectly well too. I went very conservative in my numbers, just because of budgeting reasons, but there'd be no reasons why some of your increases couldn't.
Yeah.
If they fit in the budget.
Right, that's the thing. I mean,
Yeah.
not seeing the whole thing you guys see every day, it's just easy for me to say. Just give people more money, but that's not, we gotta deal with it in the budget as well, so I've said on both sides very quickly. So, yeah, that was just my thoughts, and looking at all that.
If you have additional things, you can send it to me and I'll pass it on to the department heads and they can.
I think not necessarily this year, but maybe looking forward, maybe starting this fall, maybe reworking the fire schedule, the pay ranges for each position. Not for 2023, we're moving on into 2024, because that's going to be a long conversation as to how we work those. Because some of them do need increases, some of them don't quite need increases. Some of them are a little out of whack. You get 2,000 one year, 3,000 next year, and then go back down to another 2,000 increase. So we work that out a little bit with some figuring in numbers.
Okay.
No, I looked at her responses to your questions and I agree.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's very.
I will, I didn't send those out to anybody but you guys, Don and Brett. I'll send those out to the department heads too, so they can look
Okay.
at those as we're building the budget.
Yeah, if anybody can't read my handwriting.
I think I got it pretty much, so
Okay,
I
sorry.
could pass along.
I went kind of old school with that.
That's all right, thank
Wrote it
you.
on a paper, scanned it in. Okay, new business. So we'll start off with the discussion of potential grant for special transportation needs in Washington Township.
So as you know, we gave a grant to Edwards County Senior Services. And 1/3 of that went for transportation, which they provide through a link. And they, obviously being the largest township, we have 1/3 of all the county population. She has put together figures and estimations on usage. But there's not only seniors that need this transportation, but there's also other people who have special needs, who can't drive. And so they I would say this would be a good service. What I'm proposing is obviously that I will be here to implement it next year, but I'm proposing if the board's agreeable that we would put it in our budget and then put together how it would be done. To do is another, special grant, in a local agreement with Edwards County Senior Services. That we would identify either a donation, or if we had, maybe the fire might have a vehicle that they're getting ready to get rid of, if I'm talking about an SUV or something.
Fire truck.
No. But vehicle or something that we could use for that, but this would be dedicated strictly for Washington Township residents. It'd be run by Link, so we wouldn't be doing that, but they would provide to the township. She's proposing like quarterly reports, and it would be obviously under the trustee's office, empowering, implementing the whole project. So I'm gonna ask her to come up and talk about that. We also have in the audience, folks that, that have some interest in this, and so through the Elmores, I've asked for them to maybe get some of these folks here to want to ask questions or that kind of thing, at least you see some support here. But I think it's something that we've needed for a while, and I personally would like to see it, put in place if it can be done, so. I'll turn it over.
Well, thank you. As John said, I'm Marina Keers. I am the Executive Director for Hendricks County Senior Services, and we have a relationship with Washington Township, but with the entire community. We operate the public transportation service in partnership with Sycamore Services, but also a medical transportation service in concert with Hendricks Regional Health. So we've been in the transportation business for 20 plus years. And certainly see the need for community transportation. This idea from Don and other community members is really a unique way to meet what is a tremendous need, and I appreciate the other advocates for transportation service were able to take time to come today and allow me to speak on their behalf for this portion, and they can share their thoughts as well if you'd like. But you have your proposal in front of you with some details that we had outlined in terms of demand and cost and what that operation could look like, but it's really starting from the ground up. And so some of the things that we've discussed in, are parameters that would need to be set by Washington Township, but the opportunity to do a trial or a pilot, whatever you want to call this, for a few years to try to meet some of this ever-growing need would be welcome. I can tell you that we've been operating transportation in one form or another. Once, just volunteers since 1978, and then using public dollars since the 2000s. And demand has always exceeded capacity. That's the biggest problem that we have. And so to try to make a dent in that would be a great thing for Washington Township. What questions can I answer?
As far as the citizens that will be using this, is there restrictions? Is it for doctors? Is it for, I want to go to grocery? What are there limitations that we put on how they use the service?
So the idea was that we would provide the service to those that need it, recognizing that the two greatest demands of the community are to get to work and to get to other appointments, counseling, medical care, those kinds of things. But I suspect that the greatest need and the greatest demand is going to be for employment. One restriction that we know would be important, or we suspect would be important, would be that it would be limited to residents of Washington Township, so that the service benefits those who are in the community that's spearheading the project. But those, once again, that would be an internal discussion of your decision on how you want.
So, Steve, thanks for that we've been talking and everything, but today what I'm looking for, and we'll talk a little bit on cost and stuff, I'm looking for just a consensus from you. You're okay for me to put it in the budget proposal on September 8th, and then we can have further, talk and decisions on that. But if it's adopted, then form a committee would put together the whole criteria and everything. And obviously, I'd like to, if we did this, have one of you, be on that committee. I'm also looking to the two trustee candidates to be on that committee too, because one of them would be making sure that this was done. What I'm proposing is a 2-year pilot program. I have talked to our financial advisor as far as if it's workable, and it turns out it's a great, being used, and obviously we don't want to discontinue it, but don't want to propose something, do it for 2 years, and hey, we don't have any more money to do it. I've asked him, based on what our financial picture is and what he projects in the future, this would be something that we would be comfortable in saying that we'd be okay financially to continue if we would like to do that. But, she's put together the cost here, estimated cost of $83,600. My good friend Doug Elmore, who used to be on the Township board, worked with me on this along with his wife April. And Doug put together even some more figures, and from the standpoint that if you had a ridership fee of $5, if you elected you wanted to do that, it would bring down, plus what we've already, out of our grant, we've already dedicated 1/3 of that grant to this cost. So I think the overall cost came down, do you remember what that figure was, Doug? I got it here.
58.6.
Yeah, it was like 60-ish.
So that,
And I think, to your question on parameters, I think everything from what is it for? What are the age groups? Then you get into the vehicle discussion as to, does it need a lift? Is it a van? Is it an SUV? It's not gonna be a fire truck or an ambulance.
You know,
But those kind of things that could raise, I mean, it's gonna really lower that, that's kind of maximum, I would guess, maximum cost all in. I know somewhat from experience that's what it is all in, and my real work life, I get out, it's real, but, we bought probably too much of a van, too big, but anybody can use it at any time, so it's wheelchair accessible and all that kind of thing.
She's got a vehicle for a special, that kind of special, but.
Yeah.
But the kind of vehicle we would be normal, in a situation.
And I would love it if we did this, and then every township or town would kind of pitch in that situation as well. And I think it makes it easier in that situation.
yeah, I think this is a creative solution. It's a way to use resources, I think, wisely and conservatively to meet a real need. And I think it does set a good example. I agree with you. I would love it if other townships would try something similar.
And then if you put a fee on it or you did it free, that's going to be plus minus 20-ish, 21,000 or something like that as well. So there's those things that think about. We want to put a fee on it. It's going to be cost prohibitive. Is it a monthly fee?
Right.
You have a ticket to ride kind of thing. So,
Obviously, they would be administering all this, and so that cost is going to get built into that. So the township wouldn't have to do, on a daily basis, dispatching, taking care of all this, but, again, they would collect the fees and everything, and then give over to the township, if you guys did charge fees or.
but if we want to maintain the vehicle here, our mechanics would maintain the vehicle.
Right.
So that's another offset cost. That right now that they have to have pets or something. I guess.
Obviously, I see the vans all over. What kind of limitations do you currently operate under as far as where, we talk about the what, but the where? What's the radius that you do, or do you stay within the county?
Lane Hendricks County stays within the county.
Okay.
Yeah, we do not cross the county line. And because of the added time that it takes to get across multiple county lines, I wouldn't recommend, if you have service with one vehicle, I would recommend that you contain it to within the county.
Yeah, for instance, the green van that may or may not exist out there with Hendricks County Senior Services. Discussion is there's people, let's say customers or patients coming from other counties. By the time that vehicle drives to and from, delivers them where they need to go and back, it could be tied up the entire day. So the impact to more folks is limited if it goes outside of the county.
Yeah, I was thinking, employment opportunities down in Plainfield, is that within
Yes.
our wheelhouse that we want to make sure that we don't write guidelines too tight
Right.
to not get that accomplished?
I think that's been the consensus.
Yes.
Okay.
We need it.
The committee would be, and probably like somebody from that group, and then also comes with her to help us formulate that and put it together. So it would be approved by you guys before the end of the year. So, I don't know if you would like to have people speak to this.
Sure.
Off guard.
Sure.
I know, you're good.
Public record, Doug Elmore, Avon resident, Washington Township resident. Thank you for considering this. As Don said and Marina said, the need far outweighs what currently exists. And as we're continuing to grow in this community, and of course, the focal point of growth here in the Avon area, our population continues to grow and the needs are far outpacing what we're able to service. We were able to get a little bit of clarity on some even additional numbers that might help you as you consider this in the budget cycle. We were able to talk to the school corporation today, kind of get that flavor of once kids leave school and, there's that disconnect that kind of happens there for a period of years until maybe there's some consistency. They right now averaging just shy of 400 kids in the resource community at the high school, of which almost 15% of those are non-diploma track. And that would tend to be your rider share upon graduation that are going to need services, continue to be citizens of this community. And I think that's the one thing that I think you want to look at is that this is for the special needs to be active in their community and participate. They want to work, they want to be out, but there's just some restrictions. They might not be able to drive. I think a couple things to keep in mind. Currently with Link, it does have a ridership fee. It costs $5. It's $4 per ride. So most everybody that's using Link now is already used to paying, so that's not like it would be something new. I think as we think Washington Township, think though of the fact that we would have people that we know living clear down potential on Township Line Road that might work in Plainfield, right there at one of the warehouses or at the mall or something. So think of the service area that needs to go, might need to be a little bit outside of Washington Township so that people that live on the borders could get to their employment and not be restricted that, well, I work in Plainfield. And I can speak to that person, and my daughter works down at TJ Maxx in Plainfield. Would love to work here in Avon, but there's not TJ Maxx in Avon. So, so she rides Link to her employment back and forth. So I think it is definitely a need that is growing in the community with the opportunity for kids. If you think of all of us that have kids and going through the Avon school system, the ultimate desire is for them to be able to stay in the community, to reside here, to employ here, to raise their families here. And these are the types of things that allow that to occur, and they don't have to seek alternative. I can speak to a friend at church who lives in Speedway and would love to move out here, but can't because the services that are provided through Metro and Indigo that allow his son to work, and he can't leave Marion County until there's something out in this area that will allow his son offers of employment. So. And I would be, either April or I would be happy to serve on any kind of committee if you need more of an outside person, citizen.
If I can add, April Elmore, spouse and parent, resource parent, special needs parent, to Steve, to your comment about what the service might encompass. These are individuals, and I think I'm aware with a few of them who can share, who they have the same needs that you and I have. Where are they going to go? What is the purpose behind the transportation? Well, what are your needs for your transportation? Think of it outside of, these, right? Anything that we need, you and I need, those are things that they have a need for and a desire to do as well. Social activity or whatever that means. It's very limited. As to the price, and maybe Maria can back me up on this, I feel like there was a fee of $3 if it was from same town to town.
Yes.
So Danville to Danville was $3 one way. Danville to Plainfield would be $4 one way. And I will also share that you might also please consider the level of their income and the fact that those are restrictions as well. I'm happy to speak further onto that as well. Not going to probably be able to afford a lot, but certainly happy to give back to cover the portion as they're able. Absolutely.
And obviously these would be taxpayers too, they're working.
Yes.
So.
Right. And then Maria too, so for example, 6 people wanted between 8 and 10, and you guys can only service 4, that then rolls over to additional link services at that one, correct?
Right. Right. So any need we couldn't meet, we would work within those obviously well-connected partnerships to try to meet anything to get people connected. Yeah.
This would be a little goal that our attorney obviously would review. So I guess my question is, are we okay to at least go ahead and bring it to you at the September 8th budget?
I would think definitely.
We want to know that.
Okay, so thank you.
If I might add one more thing, I would just say in the last 24 hours, I have become aware of, you mentioned we'd like to see other communities link arms for their townships as well. I think that would be a very welcome conversation. I heard from 2 communities, one within Hendricks County and one in Lebanon, 2 other involved persons and groups that are very open to the idea. One was open to be here today and might be to learn for their county as well as to what's going on. So we might be able to light a fire under something that takes circle and help out a whole lot of folks.
Sure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, next up,
I had another comment.
oh, sure.
I've been working as an advisor for a self-advocate group in this community for 14 years. And like you said, people with disabilities need to have the same needs as everybody else. But, when you get to my age, maybe all you can do is go to work, go to the doctor. But these are young people coming out of high school, and they are working part-time. And I think their transportation to work and doctor's appointments is taken care of. But if they want to go to a self-advocate meeting, a lot of times their service provider doesn't have staff, or they have one staff for 3 people, and if they all 3 don't want to go, then the one person who wants to go can't go. And so even since COVID, the staffing is way low, and other people depend on their parents. Maybe their parents are still working, and when they get home, they're maybe tired and they've been dealing with a lot of stuff, and they don't want to provide. Or people who are like David, who are living semi-independent. You can get a certain amount of money from your Medicaid waiver to pay for transportation, but it's not a lot. But that is a part of a bucket of money in their services that can be used for transportation. But like he used to use Uber
Yeah.
went sky high.
Yeah, I spent, sorry to interrupt.
No.
No, I spent hundreds of dollars with Uber just getting back and forth to work. And I'm just like at home, not doing anything, and I have a job offering in Marion County, but getting to the connector point to take Indigo is like, I can't even get, like next Thursday, I try getting Link, and they're like, I have a first job trial, and I have special needs, sorry. Like for next Thursday, Link is already up to 100% rise and already booked for a day.
Yeah. What, in some of your initial conversations, Don, what hours were you thinking about offering this service?
That was it's a discussion that'll have to happen, probably, it sounds like among your committee. Depending on the number of hours will depend on how you do staffing. And so that impacts cost, obviously. But what we've heard is that, Link operates 6 to 6. And if there's a way to consider a service that has hours maybe in the evenings or a little later, that would accommodate some other shifts that people work. So I think those are the kinds of conversations we need to take. Maybe 6 a.m. is not an appropriate time to start, a service, or 8 a.m. Maybe it is a little later to meet needs. So I think that would be a good topic.
They're still collecting information too.
Yeah.
And Doug and April have been working on information too, trying to get more information out there of what the needs are and stuff.
Yeah. And I think to your point, that I think the committee or voices on the committee would be strong advocates to not limit the service, because we don't want to place a judgment on, which meetings are important for people to go to and what are. So I appreciate your comment.
That was why I was asking, based upon your comments, what hours do we need to, is it better to start at 10 o'clock in the morning and then run into the evening if that accommodates other than work?
The beautiful thing is you can try something and change it if you find that something is better. We want to be adaptive to the needs. So.
The play that Carly's in, the Lifetime to Shine play, starts at 7 to 9, right, on Friday and Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
So the social life of these people is just as important to them, and is often more limited than just their work or their health care.
Ma'am, could you give your name for the record?
Karen Rose, for the awesome West Side Advocate. 2, 3, 4.
Yes. Yes, for EWA.
Yeah, I do know a young lady who works 8 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday both. She's been paying for an Uber because her mother passed away, and nothing else is available for her. Is this an option?
I would say everything's an option. We just have to kind of put the program, the goal is put the best program possible to service as many people as possible. And I think that's the part of it to look at. So I think it's early to answer that. What this intent to bring and discussing now is, do we kind of bake this into our budget for next year so we can start planning for that and see how that then shakes out? And, you know, do we need to get additional funding? So I'm maybe speaking out of turn now, but do we need to get additional funding somewhere else, or is there, the vehicle can get, maybe not donated, but supplemented or something like that? There's a lot of ways the senior center can help us do that.
Ma'am, could you give your name for the record too, please?
My name's Paul Raymond.
You know,
Anything else on that?
like I
So
said,
thank you all for coming.
we'll bring it to the September 8th budget meeting, and then if it's included in the budget, then like that, we'll get the committee formed and start getting to work on it. Have something to you before the end of the year to approve.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. Thank you.
No.
Next one up is resolution 081622-01, authorization to pursue properties for future fire stations. And you guys don't have to stay if you don't want to.
You're welcome to.
You guys are welcome to stay if you want to, but the rest of this is not super riveting, so.
So,
Sorry, fire folks.
as you know, at the last board meeting, Deputy Chief Porter made a presentation on, speaking about the growth of the township and possible fire needs in the future. And, you, said for us to go ahead and maybe, put together something. So I talked to the legal counsel, and we had some properties that we possibly identified, which, Chief Porter will come up here and talk about. But it's in that resolution that if you agree today, then that will authorize me and the fire administration to go, they know and narrow it down more. If we decide that we find some stuff we're interested in, we'll get some appraisals, and then obviously after that, if we find something that we do want to buy, we'll have to bring it back to you for approval anyway. So I'll turn it over to Chief Porter for talk about where these locations are on this map here.
The locations. I'll apologize that the email, I haven't had a chance to look at all the parcels.
6 of them.
50 north, 475.
So.
So,
Show the response.
yep. So again, I know the picture in that was put into the PowerPoint was a little bit blurry, or small from that standpoint. So really what we were looking at is Station 145. Again, looking at a station in the location of the high school is the easiest way to put it. So 150 south, somewhere around the 7500 block, gives us this blue perimeter around that area, which would indicate the response area, the primary response area for that vehicle. Again, through the NFPA requirements, looking at the 4-minute response times, things of that nature, gives us that area. 146s, which again would be that future, even further into the future, but again, that 4-minute response time around there, and was really looking in the neighborhood of 150 north and County Road 475 east. So you'll notice on the list of properties in that, there's some, so there is a parcel of property that we've looked at a little bit, 7634 East County Road 150 South, which is directly across the street from the high school. Few things that still have to be looked at that, but it's worth investigating at this point in time. As you can imagine, there's limited parcels of land in that area versus in the northwest corner where it's obviously less incorporated at this point. So really the dots, like I said, 475 east, 150 north, and then that surrounding area. So really looking within probably a quarter-mile circumference of that would get us into those generalized areas. Same thing with 145. So the dot that's here, this initial one that was in red was actually a town property. So it's the town property at the 100 South and Dan Jones. They got it slated. I just had to pick a spot to start running some numbers from. So, but as you can see, that leaves the southern western edge of that district a little bit uncovered still. So that's really an area that we were looking to try to encompass. So, yeah, was there any other or something that you needed?
No, that's perfect.
Okay.
That helps me understand it better.
But the resolution is just authorizing the fire, authorizing me to the fire administration to look at this further. If we do discover that the property will be workable, we'd obviously get 2 appraisals, which is what required by law, and You know, we can always no more than what the average of those two appraisals are, so. This will allow us to start that process.
I have one other questions. I move that we adopt resolution 081622-01, resolution of the Town Board of Washington Township to pursue properties for future fire stations.
I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next one up is resolution 081622-02, adoption of fees for burial in North Lawn Cemetery.
So as you know, the township board, previous township board adopted a resolution back in 2017, I believe, that allowed us to pursue looking at burial spaces at North Lawn Cemetery. We did contract with a consultant who came out and did a mapping, identified where folks are already buried, also identified areas that we probably should avoid because we don't know if there's somebody buried there or not, and then mapped out an area that we could use for future burials. And they came up with a total of 250 plots. Did it like 10 plots to a lot, so there would be basically 25 lots. It's in your packet where that's been all laid out. What this is coming up with proposed fees. Obviously, as I've said before, not my desire, not about future administration, would be to get in the burial business, but we're basically selling the plot, we have it recorded, and then charge an opening and closing fee. But the party, if they're burying somebody, they would have to take care of that cost for the actual burial and all that. Wouldn't be in the business of selling monuments or, you know, that kind of stuff. We would have restrictions on the markers. But the rules are already been established in that previous resolution. But what this is to do, because I've had, since our last meeting, I've had 2 people on call for fire. Okay, I told them we would take this up at this meeting. Now I get back to them after this to let them know, what the decision was made. So, but those fees I've taken from Center Township, Henry County, and that fees we did be charging. I did have people from over Plainfield, but theirs is a little bit different too. So
These also fall in line with a church cemetery association that I'm on also, and these are almost lockstep. So I see no unreasonableness with this.
if you do pass this, then I'll have legal counsel put together a deed that we would have to, and the sales agreement that we would have, with these folks, and if we did sell, and then we would record the deed at the county recorder's office.
Okay, just need a motion to approve.
So we're all meeting.
I
I move we adopt resolution 081622-02, adoption of fees for burial in North Lawn Cemetery.
will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So that one. Next up is resolution 081622-03, addition of a fire department position.
So I'll let chief or deputy chief, whichever will speak to it.
We brought it to the board last month that we were shifting gears a little bit in our staffing model for our EMS personnel, and we wanted to be able to start hiring civilian EMTs. And previously, we didn't have a position description for that position, so this is correct. Yeah.
No, this is their recruit academy instructor.
Oh, I'm sorry, no. Recruit Academy instructor.
That last meeting.
Recruit Academy instructor.
Wasn't sure where I was going. So.
I wasn't either. I'm
like, okay, well,
I guess I'll use the salary resolution.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I guess I should shut up. Let you.
Ted put this job
Yeah, the job description is for the recruit academy instructors. There's a lead instructor and then there's adjunct instructors, in order to pay them to meet the job description.
Yep.
Basically.
And how we've taken care of this for the most recent classes is just twist people's arms and say you've taken an additional duties to do these, and now we're
It was volunteer.
formalizing it.
It was more of a volunteer thing than a twist of an arm.
Oh, okay.
They would volunteer to make overtime, which is pretty easy to do. But this way it is putting them on a 40-hour work week. They're paid at the administrative rate for the primary instructors, and then the assistant instructors will get paid as well. Up until this class, we've typically relied on volunteers, and sometimes we just get them, and sometimes we have to come up with some way to incentivize getting help. In order to put that in salary resolution and in the job description.
We need to have the stability of permanent instructors when we're doing the classes.
So that's what that resolution is, and now you got the position to our.
And we've had some great guys because they've been announced at some of the ceremonies. So, I want to thank them for what they've previously done. But
Well, luckily, they all have a burning desire to be doing what they're doing. They're enjoying what they're doing. But like Ted said in the past, we paid them overtime, or we detailed them there during the day, and then when class is over that day, they go back to shift, and if they're off shift the next day, then they volunteer to come or whatever. But we just, as we built the program and started doing our own recruit classes, we saw value in having identified instructors that are taking off shift for the period of time that they're instructing. They function as instructors, and then they go back to their position once the course is over.
I move we adopt resolution 08-1622-03, addition of a fire department position.
I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's, good. Let's see, we got resolution 08-1622-04 amended 2022 Township salary resolution.
So you approve the position, now you're approving the pay range and adding that to our existing salary resolution. So that's what you're
So the salary resolution is they get that per day that they're working as, so when we not only removing them and paying them for the 40 hours that week, they also get this additional daily bonus to do that position.
Okay, gotcha. So they're at overtime, they get overtime plus this basically per day.
Mainly what we're trying to do is, we don't want to kind of negatively impact their income. When guys are on shift, they automatically get overtime because of the fact of their work schedule, working 24 hours. When they come to instruct, since they're only working 40 hours, they're losing some of their income. So we're trying to balance that field where they're instructing what they would have been making had they been. So basically, they're being put on an administrative rate.
Yeah, so instead of working the normal 24 on, 48 off, they'll be working like a Monday through Friday. We pay them for the 8 hours at a different rate, whatever their administrative rate would be, plus this additional daily bonus.
Gotcha.
So they are losing out on that overtime for that week, but this is just kind of to offset that.
So this is,
Driving to work
5 days a week instead of.
okay, so this is a daily bonus.
Yes,
Okay.
every day that they work. So that during, if they work 5 days during that week, they'll get 5 daily bonuses.
Okay.
So it's not all the time, it's just while they're doing that specific job.
Okay.
If we needed to work with the regular duty, then we would.
Yeah.
Correct. If it's a regular duty day, they would not get it. So if the regular duty day was during that week, they wouldn't get paid for that. So if they work like 2 days normally that week, they would get the 3. did it for about 3 other days, but not this one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions?
Okay. I move we adopt resolution 081622-04, amended 2022 Township salary resolution.
I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, is that it? Next up, any other public comment or wishes to be heard?
Wishes to be heard, just a reminder, the September 8th meeting will be the budget workshop, and that's all discussed. September 20th will be a number of different things, but one of which will be the public hearing for the 2023 township budget. So that will be, that will be the big, so.
And I also meant to mention my report, I apologize, I wanted to welcome the chief back from his deployment. Did a great job of representing us and the task force institute. We called, he was in Kentucky, and we're going to have him back safely and push things on.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, we will then officially adjourn as of 3, oh, I'm sorry, we
Yeah. I move we adjourn.
Okay. I will second that. All in favor, we are adjourned as of 3:40.